Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We're going to start now. So, everyone, welcome to the Foreign Correspondent Clubs of Thailand. My name is Prayut Chan-ocha. I'm the president of the club and also a senior reporter for Reuters. I'll be the moderator for this evening. This evening, we have a very special, interesting topic up for discussion: the Eastern Economic Corridor, and we're joined. And we're honored to be joined by three distinguished panelists, especially Dr. Kanit, who's the Secretary General of the Eastern Economic Corridor Office. Dr. Kanit Changsuban, of course, was there since the beginning in 2017 when the Prayut government, the previous government before the election, launched the Eastern Economic Corridor Initiative, and it became a big buzzword for the government on sort of this massive mega project in Thailand Eastern seaboard that will sort of launch Thailand to the next phase of economic growth and so on and so forth. Of course, it's been for more than 4 years, and we would like very much to hear more about the EEC. How has it been going? Where is it going? And what can we look forward to? So we are also joined by two distinguished panelists, Ajahn Ruth Panom-yong from the Thammasat University, and Jay Harriman, my friend who's from the Bauer Group, who will talk about sort of the private sector views on it. So without further ado, I want to invite Dr. Kanit. Can you please tell us, members of the press and our members and other who's watching about where is the EEC heading from this time?
Thank you, Kun Panu. We have strong people. Jay is here and Ruth is here. So that will be a good night today. We have the Permanent Secretary, ex-Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, Kun Siyasak is here as well. He is my honorable advisors on doing many things, including how to restructure the strategies of EEC to the regional economy around. Okay. Anyway, I will have some presentation, but I go very quickly because I think many of you guys will have a lot of questions to ask. Just get to the point what we need to do. Actually, Kun Panu, I have to say sorry that last time we was invited, but get the big flu, so that I couldn't be there. But today is so the EEC itself has been positioned. This one was presented to Prime Minister Prayut, or I should say the EEC is a Thailand project. Prime Minister Prayut bring them up. It is not Prime Minister Prayut project. It has been done by many people. So we will send this one to the cabinet around 3 years ago, when we start looking at the SEC, and then we try to position EEC and SEC in a broad perspective. We actually, with our team, has been very close relationship with China, Greater Bay Area, Kunming, those and this to Japan. So that's the things we have been done for the past 4 years. We are not having the relationship with the country, but we have the relationship with the provinces at the provinces level, so that we bring some of the investor, we send some of the investor to that in Japan and in China as well. Okay, that's a part of it. Can I move the ได้ไหมครับผมบอกให้เคลื่อนสไลด์กันโอเคครับ this is what is in your book, so that you can enjoy reading it. It's a summary of our EEC. So far, EEC is cover 3 provinces, 1.3 million hectare of that area, covering Rayong, Chonburi, and Chachoengsao. That 3 provinces. The first phase of EEC complete this year. We already have committed the investment into the project around up to 27 billion US dollar already there. The BOI, the infrastructure already committed. For the infrastructure of the 4 project, we start into the construction phase now. The preparation of government finish, and the signing ceremony will be in hopefully will be in this October for the high-speed train and for the airport. For the 2 deep sea port, it's already start construction. They're doing something on building the foundation of that deep sea port. Actually, there's quite a number of target industries, 27 billion US dollar already approved. Among this 27, half of them, close to 40 to 50% of them, has been invested already. So the other half is waiting for investment extension for the next 2-3 years. Now when we finish this one, completed 50 billion US dollars so far. We start the second phase. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, go so far. The second, that is okay. The second phase from this year onward, we think it's going to be around 65 billion US dollar for the next 5 years, which is okay to us. Because in the first 4 years, we have been building some I should say the modern infrastructures that the new investment can be built upon it. The first one is we have very strong 5Gs in Thailand. In EEC, we already have 5G for almost 12 months. So that on the new industry, on digitization, they have to come to Thailand, because other area in ASEAN, so they has not much 5G so far. That's the advantage we have. And we also have the innovation park. It's up and running this year. If you want to go to that place, so tell us, we're going to bring you there. The first building has been complete, and they start doing on agriculture and talk to the farmers, and they are going to have the synchrotron. I don't know what it's for, but the synchrotron, the big one, will be there as well. We already started genomic process and precision medicine in here. We have we target to have the genomic sequencing of the Thai people, 50,000 sample. Now we start to do up to 3,000 already. When it's come to the 5,000s, meaning that we start to have that data to do some research. So that's a big foundation, and EC turned to be the one who trusts the movement of the genomic treatment, precision medicine in Thailand. And this is a very big investment so far. In case of, as you might have heard about the thalassemia kind of cancer. So can you imagine that 25% of the people in this area, including China, they are a sort of have some degree of thalassemia. So that somebody has to start that treatment, and so that other people will come to enjoy that kind of facility. So that's what I said. For the 5Gs, we have 100%. So the 5G scale is a little bit tricky. We did the 4Gs 4 or 5 years ago, but because we just focus the 4Gs on the signal, so that we have a very good system of telephone, internet, those it is, but it's not linked to the data business so far. As you might have recognized, all of the e-commerce is not Thai owned. The Grab is not Thai. Other thing is not Thai, just has a Robinhood, or the platform of 4G is not belong to Thai. But 5G will be different. 5G is good in 2 or 3 things. The first one is to do automation. When you have the factory and you turn the factory into the automation system, use the robot, use the signal, 5G is very perfect. The signal they send takes some very small time, right? So that when you do when you can do the automation in a firm that we did in EEC, the cost has been come down to around 30%. So that investment in 5G and automation works so far. Okay. The second one that's a 5G we're going to do is a data business. You have the data center. That's quite common. But we're gonna have the common data lakes and other thing else that we can capture that asset for the young people, the new talent, to do the startup business. That's what we aim for. And also we already put the 5Gs into the realities at the what's so called the small town level in Ban Chang. And that smart pole with 5G, the signal is quite good. And then we have the system. So the police in Ban Chang now, no matter who steal whatsoever or have the accident in the car, they can capture the guy if they want to run away in 2 hours. That's a promising of the system. So Pattaya will do the same, and other provinces will do the same. So that the 5Gs we are talking about. We are not talking about the signal. You use the telephone. We're talking about the data business, the how to implement to the real lives of the people. We call smart city or we don't care. It's just what they call. But they help the people to have the good living standard. นะครับขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ Okay, logistic structures, everything is fine. It's already there. If you want to ask about the high-speed train and everything, we'll do it later. ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ Okay, this is 5Gs that had been discussed before. We're doing the network, we're doing the utilization, we do the human resource, we do communities involvement. ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ Okay, now the promotions, the activities promoting the technology and investment has been divided into 2 parts. The first part we have the 28 zones in the area covering 28 industrial estate. But the kind of incentive is provided by BOI. It's the regular schemes we have. Right? You go. If you want to do in this area, 28 area, you come in and you talk to BOI. But we have the 7 special promotion zone. The incentive will be provided by EEC this time. Because we want to have some high technology, we need a special attention. What we have is the genomic Thailand, as we said, EECG, and we have the digital park. We have the medical ECMD is at Thammasat University, your university, there's campus. And we got the money already. We bring them the money. And we're going to be the one who, they will do the digital hospital. We want to tracking the people in EEC, everybody by the digital system. So we give money to Thammasat and ask them to work with us. And then we're going to do the incentive for them. The ECI innovation I already mentioned about. The tech park is in Ban Chang, is the data center and everything will be there. And we do at the airport, Eastern Airport City. So that's the 7 special zones. It's special because we need the technology. We need to start some technologies for the startup and everything to come and buy. And we want the R&D and everything. So that EEC law by itself allow us to do the negotiation on the incentive, on the negotiation basis. For the BOI, they have the fixed regular. If you come like this and you have this activity, so that's 8 years exemption of the tax. But in case of EEC, we can negotiating. If you come with the R&D, if you come to the training program with us, if you come with the factory that's a high level, so we can do more incentive and packaging incentive. So far, a month ago, we working with the BYD, they're gonna come. They're gonna come. At first, they want to come like the car assembly, those and this. And we asked them, if you coming in with the battery, if you coming in with electronic, and you coming in with your affiliation firm, so we give the treatment, special treatment for you in that special zone. นะครับ Okay, ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ Okay, this is the regular zone 20 industrial estate. I would mention that before we do the EC, we do the area planning, replan all of the area, including we increase the number of the industrial area that can do the industrial zone by about 100%, which is not much. It takes around 4% of the total area. That's all. ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ ขอสไลด์ต่อได้ไหมครับ ครับ this is EV. So by the government policy, they implicitly announce that we're gonna keep automobile industry here as a hub. So that they give incentive very generous kind. So Thailand is a base for building the automobile car around 2 million a year. So that in the next 5 years, half of them will be EV. They already committed with Japanese group, the Chinese group, the European group. There has been only 2 firms. After BYD, there are only 2 firms left, 2 big firms left. Which is the first one is Tesla. The second one is Volkswagen. We are talking to the Volkswagen to come. But Tesla is just on and off kind of, understand. Okay. Other thing else we do, we have the charging station in EEC. This year we have more than 200. นะครับ Okay, ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ And this is the BCG. 10% of the reduction of the greenhouse gas will be done in EEC. When we do the investment, especially in our zone, you have to be the clean one. We're going to provide you with the clean energies, and you need to be as clean as possible. Then we account it to be 40%, นะครับ to be and green and circular. ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ And this is a training program has been difficulties for some times. When we look into the training, when we do the EC, we go down to the area and we do the survey. Around 200,000 students, graduate, undergrad, they are not working. They not have the work to do. At the same time, they need a job in the factory. Around 50,000 that day. They cannot find the people, so that the disbalance of the education system in Thailand. So we introduce what we call the demand-driven scheme, meaning that we talk to the firm like BMW. Okay, how much people you need, what kind you need, so that EEC has a right to authorize the curriculum by ourselves. Then we let the BMW talk to the university or vocational training school, set up that program under the conditions that they pay 50%. The government will pay 50%. 50% that BMW pay, they has a tax reduction by 2.5 times. It's fine. So normally BM will pay just around 10 to 15% of the total cost, right? But that's it's come with the commitment that after the training you have to take this guy and pay them well and have to work with you for at least 1 year. That's the thing. So when we do that kind of long the contribute, most of them is the short term kind. Then we do another way around to do the convocation, those are the into the system as well. ขอสไลด์ต่อเลยครับ เดี๋ยวผมจะ Okay, then for the first 4 years, the 1.7 trillion baht target has been met in 4 years, not 5 years. Then we start a new scheme. So that we're going to have the 2.2 trillion baht, 67 billion for the next 5 years. And then what you see is that the next generation of automobile, 40 billion baht a year, for example, that we're going to do. Only BYD come to EEC this time. The prior investment should be around 30 billion bahts already. So it's not that the ambition target, it can be done. Volkswagen and other things will do, everybody expect. Digitization, electronic, we have been discussed closely with many companies. We have the close tie with Cisco. They're gonna work with us. Other thing else as well. Okay. There will be the extension of the airport city. There will be the TOD in Makassar and other places. And that's will be our target. So the last project of EEC in the next phase is to have the EC Business Center at Livable City. We try to build the new livable smart city, lovely smart city for the new generation. We already have the space and the place in around that area. So ขอสไลด์สุดท้ายเลยนะครับจบแล้ว So that when we finish the 5 years, the next 5 years, what you're gonna see is that there will be the new Aerotropolis city that you're gonna help us to do around 30 kilometers around the U-Tapo Airport. So there will be Pattaya, there will be Rayong, there will be the airport city, and our new business city, new business center in the city. So that we try to plan this one ahead in order to make orderly living standard for the people in that new Aerotropolis. I'm sorry to say that I live in Bangkok. I born in Bangkok, but Bangkok is so unorganized. We cannot afford it. So that's what we're gonna do there. The number of the people in that area in EEC is around registered population around 3 million. We think that by doing this, they already have the migration up to 1 million now, 4 million now. There will be another kind of 500,000 people move into EEC for the new job we created. So that we have to prepare the space for them, especially for the young people. We learned this one from the case of Hong Kong and KL. The young people couldn't afford the house. That's the key reasons. In KL as well. In Bangkok, if you want to have the small condominium, 33 square meters, you have to pay 5 to 6 million. How can the young people that they graduate from the university can afford to have the first home? No. But the project we have here, we just talked to one private builder. We have the program to do with them. The first start of the payment for the new home is around 6,000 baht a month. So that if you graduate from the EEC program, you have 20,000 baht, for example, as a minimum. Then you can pay 6,000 baht as your first home payment. So that in the next 5 years, you accumulate some asset. That's what we're talking about, the new city. Okay. At the end of the day, in the next 5 years, you have Bangkok, and you have the new Aerotropolis that you're gonna chart the concept as the twin city, connected by the high-speed train by around 45 minutes. That's what's gonna happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kanit. Very interesting Vision 2027. A sort of a industrial at Sim City kind of new project. So I want to bring Jay into the conversation, since Jay here can talk a little bit more about sort of what the private sector has been seeing so far in terms of the EEC and what do they think about it, going forward. So Jay, would you like to take it away?
Sure. So, can you hear me okay? All right. So I'm 4.0. I've got computer, no paper. It's the first time here, so thank you all for coming. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Excellency. I'd like to thank you first, Panu and the club, for inviting me this opportunity to speak on this critically important topic, especially now, I think, as Thailand moves out of the COVID phase and we try to revive the economy with more tourism, trade, and investment. At the same time, I think we face headwinds, numerous challenges from global macroeconomic forces as well as geopolitical. So we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. As for our firm, I work with Bauer Group Asia. We're a strategic advisory firm. We work with leading American companies as well as others in Europe and Japan. We help them to engage with government, invest in markets, and in Southeast Asia, we have offices around the region as well as here in Thailand. So from our perch, we're able to observe many of the defining investment trends and dynamics in the region, including government policies and frameworks related to foreign investment. We also see at a granular level the challenges that companies face when investing and doing business in Thailand and regional markets. So this evening, I would like to share with you some observations from our work with prospective and actual foreign investors in Thailand. I hope this can be constructive and raise awareness of key challenges and offer solutions so that Thailand can become a more attractive and competitive destination for foreign investment. Some of the points in my presentation, Dr. Knit has helpfully answered and addressed, so I'm glad to hear that I've already learned quite a lot this evening. This is the first slide. Yeah, here we go. Let me begin by providing just some additional background and context on the EEC. So the idea of the EEC being a center and driver of investment and economic activity in Thailand goes back more than 50 years, starting with the 5th National Economic and Social Development Plan, covering 1982 to 1986. This plan was signed in 1981 by former Prime Minister General Prem. The plan was aimed to diffuse growth from Bangkok and leverage the Eastern Seaboard's advantages: ports, labor and resources from the Northeast, connectivity to regional markets, and natural gas that had recently been discovered in the Gulf of Thailand in the 1970s. With this plan, it led to the development of the Maptaput Industrial Estate for chemical production, Laem Chabang Industrial Estate for manufacturing, and in addition, the plan gave greater access to water, roads, communication, and electricity to support industry. As you can see, FDI in the 1980s, we see a spectacular rise in foreign investment from the mid-1980s to the 1990s. This was supercharged in 1985 by the Plaza Accord, an agreement between the US, Japan, and European countries that depreciated the value of the US dollar. This agreement led to almost a 50% rise in the value of the yen. Japanese manufacturers became uncompetitive, and they looked for other markets to manufacture. So Thailand became a favored destination of Japanese firms. Next slide, please. All right. But over time, foreign investment in Thailand started to level off, and more recently, it has unfortunately declined. We fast forward to 2014. We have a military coup, which was partly premised on an urgency to lay down long-term plans and strategies for the economy, which the coup makers believed had been neglected by short-term minded governments and politicians. This led to the launch of the 20-year national strategy and Thailand 4.0 policy, which has the EEC as a core component. So, how has the EEC done since 2014? Well, the preliminary data and anecdotal evidence suggests that the EEC is underperforming its potential. Approved BOI investment value in the 3 EEC provinces has fallen from 10 billion in 2018 to 5.7 billion in 2021. This year, from January to June, foreign investment application value to BOI has been down 18%, while industrial estate, its investment value has also fallen. A lot of this, of course, is due to the situation with COVID, which hasn't helped, and is understandable. However, sort of the decline in investment, a lot of it started to happen prior to COVID, and also at the same time as the launch of the EEC. So the key question is, why is it that EEC is not getting the traction and investment that the government and the public has been hoping and promised? I think on the one hand, the public investment is high. The government has put aside a lot of money for public investment. I'm more on the private investment side and looking at it from FDI, and so the story has been a little bit different. And as well, you can see, I think with Thai investors, with Thai conglomerates, there's been probably a lot more interest in EEC and activity as well than foreign firms. So I think I would like to also just now share a few experiences and observations based on some of the work that we've been doing here in Thailand. And also, I should just use the chart that I made up there. You can see the chart. The previous one, Thailand was going up, doing great. Then we sort of stabilized, and the 2010s have been quite challenging. And so, this has prompted the vision of Dr. Knit and the EEC to increase investment. So, next slide. So, to attract more FDI to the EEC, we've seen three primary challenges. I think that the government knows these well and has been trying to address them, but there's still some sticking points, and we hope that we can work through them. The first is that Thailand urgently needs bureaucracy 4.0 to meet the needs and expectations of today's businesses. To give one example, we worked with a foreign multinational energy company. They were looking to invest $10 billion into Thailand as an expansion. And on a bureaucratic level, we faced a number of challenges. I mean, typically, you're always going to face challenges with bureaucracy, but the bureaucratic challenges that we thought were the most painful was that there was real difficulty with multi-ministerial coordination. The firm was sort of left on its own in order to negotiate and manage between the different ministries to get approvals. So this created a lot of delays, frustrations, and I believe eventually it lost the confidence of the investor. So there's a real need to solve this problem of interministerial coordination. In addition, the project experienced substantial delays on important government decisions on the project. There was a feasibility study that the government, unfortunately, they didn't have the resources or technical expertise to carry out. Then when they contracted another party, it had trouble meeting the deadlines, and the deadlines several times and many months went by when the decisions weren't made. So this created additional layers of frustration. I think beyond that experience, there were a couple points on bureaucracy that we feel that since 2017, it was introduced to us that Thailand was launching a regulatory guillotine program. This was to look at thousands of regulations in order to find ways that we can streamline the bureaucracy in order to improve the business environment. But today, we don't really feel that this has made significant headway. We still face some numerous challenges. This policy was modeled after South Korea and Mexico, where they had tremendous success and completed their projects within 12 months. The second is that we feel that policy frameworks and incentives should be ahead of the curve and more targeted. So several investors that we've worked with have expressed that the process of drafting new rules and policy frameworks have taken too long and are often shaped in a way that doesn't reflect how their businesses work and operate. They sometimes feel that the way that these rules and regulations are crafted just don't take too much into account sort of the practical realities on the ground. This has led them to put off investment decisions, lowered their confidence in the market, and weakened government credibility. As an example, the EEC law, we remember Dr. Uttamat was telling us in 2017, mid-year, that we're going to have an EEC law, and then it was going to come in 3 months, and then another 3 months, and then eventually, it did come. Eventually, in April 2018, we did get the EEC law. But these sort of examples, they add up, and it creates a lot of frustration with investors. And given the regional context that we're in, we have other investment markets where governments are looking and doing things that we need to compete with. So we need to try to work on these. The last point, I think, or the second point to the second point is that is around free trade agreements. That we think that perhaps in the past Thailand could have secured more free trade agreements to better position Thailand for investment today. The key free trade agreement that Thailand is missing is with the EU, which Vietnam, Thailand's new big rival for investment, has already secured. Several investors have expressed to us their disappointment that Thailand does not have such an FTA. So we think this would be a positive step. I know that the EU and Thailand are again talking and in discussion, so we really hope that you can facilitate that faster. How much time have I used? Should I wrap it up? I'll just keep going. Okay. Well, I'll just go to let me just go to the third point. I can talk about the others in the next round. So the third point and the last one is around workforce profile, which I was happy to see Dr. Knit address in his slide. One thing that we've seen work in a number of countries is that when companies can partner with the government on training programs and share the investment costs and have these companies training the people, then they learn the skills, then they can be employed, and it creates a virtuous circle, which is good. But in many respects, we're still on that journey and transformation, and then we see that currently the workforce profile needs upgrading in alignment with the demands and needs of industry. So in some of the targeted industries in R&D and manufacturing, such as robotics, AI, biotechnology, we currently don't have sufficient number of qualified people to fill those roles. So what we're missing is I think the infrastructure to develop the people software that are going to be needed to run and operate 4.0 industries. When looking at sort of rankings of universities, the top university that we have here ranks 76th in Asia, while other universities in Singapore, in Taiwan are in the top 10 and the top 20. So we need concerted effort and cooperation, I think, to raise the level of higher education in this country. And in addition, not just higher education, but at a technical level as well. There was a study done recently with Singapore Management University of the Thai labor market, and it revealed that the vocational education graduates are not prepared for the labor market. And they also acknowledged or made the point that there's a cultural element to vocational education in this country, and that it's sort of looked down upon, and that people that are studying vocations are a lower class, or there's a reputation. If you stay here long enough, you'll see that these universities are often fighting with each other in the street with swords and all kinds of stuff. So they've developed a reputation, and it's the wrong reputation that we need. These are the people that are going to do the manufacturing. These are the people that are going to build everything, and we just really need to raise their level of education. So those are my opening remarks, and thank you, Panil.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
I need your first two slides, so I have to explain. There has been a number of this kind of facts talking in many places. ขอสไลด์แรกของเขาได้ไหมครับเรื่อง FDI นะครับเรื่อง FDI. The point, this is the old day we agreed upon, but most of the time when we do the Eastern Seaboard, the FDI is come to the infrastructures, including the deep sea port that they have to borrow money. We don't have the money at that time. We have to borrow and direct foreign investment to do the map to put the power station, the system that we do the chemical. But ขอสไลด์ต่อนะครับ But in these times around ขอสไลด์อีกอันได้ไหมครับ
ต่อไปครับ
Okay. But in these times around, the FDI number to Thailand is a sort of base data that has misguided somehow by many reasons. First of all, the infrastructure project around 20 billions in EEC, they use the Thai money. Nah, because that's why when we start this project, Japan come, nah, China come, ask to give us the cheap loans to do the work of that project, of that full project. If I can grab it, then then you're gonna have another headline of the debt trap, right? But when we do the PPP, we allow the Thai people to use the Thai money it has fluently in here. And also it has a Thai company you can do that, and the Thai people that you can do that. So we have the three Thai. The first one is a Thai money. The second one is a Thai company. The third one is a Thai people to do the PPP project in here. Then you don't see this number in the FDI data. No? Again, when you look at the data of Indonesia or Vietnam, 50% of them are infrastructure projects. That's a difference. And the second thing I would say that we have macroeconomically. I am in the board of the monetary policy at the Bank of Thailand. Every year, Jay, we have 20 billions before COVID. Now. We have 20 billion US dollars surplus from the service. We don't know how to recycle it. So the only way is put it in the bank and let the big companies seize that money to do the infrastructure project. Sometimes the government is seeing it. So you don't see Thai borrow money from outside to do infrastructure project at all. And even in the next 5 years, we're not going to do it. We have the difficulties argue with the Ministry of Finance 2 days ago in front of the Prime Minister. I said they want to borrow money from ADB to do some what they call the level street into our airport. We asked them, why on earth you have to borrow money from ADB? They said it was requested by the ADB to give the money as a loan. So to keep the good relationship, they have to do that. But in fact, it's not the money that created that one. So to speak, Jay, when the tourist industry coming back, it's going to be hurt a lot. Exchange rate going to go up. If you guys want to bet on something, bet on Thai baht today. Now I believe 36. I'm in the Bank of Thailand as well. So that's one thing I would say. So what we are doing is doing the outward investment, right? When we're doing the outward investment, it's difficult, all right. The Thai people do not know where to invest. We invest some fund in China, in the United States. They coming back flop. They don't gain much of the money. So that we have to find a way to recycle this money. That's misled somehow. But most of the thing that FDI come to Thailand is on the technologies. We don't actually in EEC around 50% of the FDI promoted by BOI mainly on the new 5 targeted industry, including digital, including the medical service and other thing else. That's what we look forward to see. The second thing is I would like to warn many people here. When we work with EEC, the conceptual of EEC is not to compete with other countries. Sorry. We look into Vietnam and Indonesia when they grow up. We're quite happy with them. Because in the old day, remember, if Vietnam turned out to be like Myanmar today, Thailand gets hurt. So that when Myanmar get hurt like that, we are so sorry with them. We put the money into that country quite a bit. But at the same time, when you see Vietnam growing up, that's very fine. They do labor intensive, they do some technology, keep doing this. No? At the same time, Indonesia growing up quite well. So we talked to Samsung some years ago that if you want to invest here, what you need? They want to assemble the mobile phone. They ask the people, at least 50,000 people, to do that assembly. We said in EEC, if if we can find 3,000, it's good enough for the factory. So that the difficulties of the industrialists. So we have been divide that according to our advantage. Let's Vietnam go that way. That's very good, all right. Thai people do invest in Vietnam, including FCCT. That's a big conglomerate there. That's a big energy complex there. The same thing applies. Many people are doing in Thai people are doing in Indonesia. Let them do. So that in this area, if we start quarrel about FDI coming in, why don't come to Thailand? Why don't come to the? It's not the helpful kind of ideologies. EEC doesn't care about that. We have the 5 target industry, the new target industry to go. We're going to go with that. We don't want to go outside of that anyway because we don't capable to do. But other things, I agree with you. The law, we try to do it, but we do the OSS and can reduce the burden by around 50%. Another 50% is a hard nuts to crack. And the FTA, I agree with you, totally agree with you. We have been lagged behind, but it's good, all right, if we have the RCEP, but other thing else we need as well. No, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kanit. We'll get more chance for discussion as well, Jay.
Sure.
But I want to bring in Ajahn Ruth now, another dimension, I guess, because you're kind of the logistic expert. I mean, the EEC beyond, and Dr. Kanit has mentioned it, there's a lot of connectivity and a lot of, airports, high-speed train, all this sort of thing. Ajahn Ruth, maybe you can weigh in on the EEC?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, just to give you a bit of a background about myself, I'm currently the Dean of Thammasat Business School, which is the only triple accredited business school in Thailand and one of 4 in Southeast Asia. All right, so, but it's in business education, maybe not engineering. In that part, I do admit. Anyway, so thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and share my thoughts and my views related to the EEC. And I find the EEC a very, very interesting beast, allow me to use this word, because normally, when we talk about economic corridors, initially, the concept for economic corridor were mostly for international corridors, regional corridors, linking Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam, or Thailand, Laos, and China. These were some of the Asian Development Bank led project under the Greater Mekong sub-region. And then you started having these concepts of national corridors. And in fact, some of the first countries that really pushed forwards for the national corridors were in fact Indonesia and Malaysia. So for Thailand, initially just talking about an economic corridor at the onset was something that was a bit confusing, because we were a lot more used to these international corridors where we would know from the beginning that the biggest problem wasn't in the country, but was at the border or connecting with the neighboring countries. So the perspective was slightly different. And when we look at the economic corridors themselves, there are a number of key dimensions that you need to have in place if that economic corridor is going to work. The first thing is, and I think Dr. Kanit has shown, is all the infrastructure that is currently being put forward. Laem Chabang, phase 3. Even in Chachoengsao, they want to set up an inland clearance depot there. But the big issue, of course, when we talk about logistics infrastructure is what is the role of the government and what is the role of the private sector? Because in reality, logistics is really about the private sector. They are the one who makes the decisions on where to invest, where to set up their warehouses. But of course, if access to land is difficult, that's where they need to rely upon the government to get access to that land. The challenge with public-private partnership, I'm sitting on a number of committees at the Ministry of Finance and at the Ministry of Transport, and it's really fascinating for me to sit on these committees because by the time you are able to find a private sector developer to come in, it's already too late. I'm just sharing something that is outside of the EEC. It's, Chiang Khong in Chiang Rai in northern Thailand, right? That's where you have the bridge that links with Hue Thai. And then you have a road, which is route number 3, that links to Boten Mohan in China, in Laos and in China. The idea behind this freight village by the bridge, I remember talking about it, discussing with colleagues from the Ministry of Transport about 17 years ago. And now we're just in the process of going through the documents for the private sector to get the concession. 17 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 17 years. So, lots of good ideas, but I think the real challenge is really in the execution. How can you actually execute? Very often, agencies have their own rules and regulation, and when you're discussing, and this discussion on interministerial coordination, everyone is right because everyone is holding their own law. The only thing is, it's like water and oil. It just doesn't mix together. And that has always been one of the biggest problems. But it's not a problem specific to Thailand. It's a problem that is specific to, in fact, almost all of the countries in the world. So in the EEC, from my perspective, I see there's a lot of effort in terms of the infrastructure. Yes, it's Thai government-led with concession. The high-speed train, I think, fascinating, the 3 airport train that they're going to have. I have some Japanese colleagues who did some simulation and said that if that train from Bangkok to Rayong is going to be feasible, a train needs to leave every 17 seconds. But that's from the simulation. And as we know, simulation is based on assumption, constraints, parameters, so on and so forth. But at least, I think it's interesting. It shows that there's a lot more to just the building of the infrastructure. Within the economic corridor itself, one of the key dimension, apart from the infrastructure, it's really what I call the institutional environment. And Kun Kanit have said, yes, one-stop service, very critical. And I was doing some study for HKTDC, Hong Kong Trade Development Council, in terms of how to link GBA with the EEC. And we were interviewing this company from Hong Kong because they have invested in Thailand. They're very specialized. They do some sort of early testing for cancer. So we spoke with them and we said, okay, why did you come to Thailand? So, it's a big market. Have you heard of the EEC? No, never heard about it before. But they were the name that HKTDC gave us, saying, oh yeah, we want, okay. So we just wanted to understand, why Thailand. So they're not familiar with the EEC, but this is what they said, which I found very interesting, and it reflects again. Because they were doing something that is so specialized, they needed to get authorization from the Ministry of Health to do a laboratory. And they couldn't get, initially they couldn't get the license, and they had to pay the lawyers, I think, quite a large sum just to get everything through. So it just shows that sometimes when we try to be very ambitious in terms of attracting high technology, we also need to think in terms of they need to be able to come in without any issue, or else then, a bit disappointed, like what Jay was saying a few moments ago, right? So in this case, it's all about this interaction between the ecosystem, the infrastructure, and the institutional environment. I was very happy to see that, we are now having not really official, but some sort of EV policy. I did a couple of years ago a study on the impact of EV on the Thai automotive supply chain. And one of the impact was about 300,000 Thai workers that are working in the Thai automotive industry will lose their job because of EV. And again, I think this is where we need to think in terms of the social net. Yes, we move forward, we go in terms of the technology. We must not forget those that may be at risk because their the work that they're doing are based on old technology, and they might not be able to find new jobs. So all this upskill, reskill is very important. Thank you for calling out on me on the Atropolis and asking me to help. Well, if you want me to help, we need to get the Navy out of U-Tapo first, but that's another story. But anyway, no comment, or else it will be a different kind of panel. And I'm here to talk just basically about logistics. And the biggest challenge is this: yes, we look at it from a Thai perspective, but how then do we connect with the rest of the world? Sure, Laem Chabang, third phase, no problem, but I think let's get ready for more pollution and more challenges from an environmental perspective at Laem Chabang. That's for the maritime connection. For the airport connection, really U-Tapo is a great place. And one of the discussions, in fact, I've had with some experts in cross-border e-commerce is that why not declare the EEC to be a specific area for cross-border e-commerce where you don't really need to have physical fences because of the 5G. So anything that comes in will be duty-free. If it's consumed inside, it's duty-free. But if it's out of that area, then yeah, taxes can be paid. You mean the airport? No, for the whole 3 provinces. For the whole 3 provinces. As long as we're going to do this, let's do it that way. Let's do it that way because the technology is here. And I've been speaking with, especially our colleagues from Zhengzhou in China, and this is what they are thinking. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. But I think the key part is this: we can do and we can think about many things. What I'm basically saying is that yes, of course, as a country, the EEC is an important project, but I think we also need to look at this sustainability issue, and it's also a good opportunity to basically develop the circular economy within the EEC. So that means anything that comes in has to be designed according to the circular economy, and that could be used as a showcase how the energy links, because now I know that today if you come in and invest, the foreign investors are also looking, your electricity, how many % comes from alternative energy? If you don't have any alternative energy, I won't come. So we really need to show, I think, much more than just, saying we want to attract the high technology. I would say we need to go further and go toward this agenda of the circular economy and use the EEC as a pilot for it to show that we can do it. At least that's something that I would look forward to more than just a traditional having high technology. But that's my own personal perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Gachanrut. Before we go to Q&A, Dr. Kanit, do you want to go through some of the points that the other 2 panelists have raised?
Very interesting. Actually, the first point about the logistic and PPP, the 2 layers of that kind, that's just the reason why when we work on the EEC in the first day, we ask the government to have our own law. And then we do the regulation on PPP in EEC. And because we have to coordinate with them anyway, the one who do the PPP law to us is the Minister of Finance. That's what you said. But they have some good people that they see that doing the PPP law at Minister of Finance is so clumsy. So they come to help us. When we do the PPP law, we can reduce the number of months from 22 to 8. That's what happened. And we stick to 8 to 10. Other thing else is extension because the private sector sue the other firm on and off. So that's not our fault. But anyway, after that staff do the PPP law for EEC, they go back to the Ministry of Finance and they build the new PPP law for them in 3 years ago. The new one is not that good as EEC law, but that's okay. It's much better than the old day. I should tell to the fact, the first law that we discussed, we normally choose the wrong people. We choose the lawyer. To lead the project. And this is the accident. Not the accident, but the mistake. So that the lawyer come and said, okay, if you have the 8 process, it has to be 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4. And every committee on every step must be an independent authority, independent people, meaning that from somewhere else do not know about that project at all, to do the transparency of the project. So this turned out to be the 22 months to do one project, not to mention anything else. But that had been corrected. In Hong Kong, DC, I do agree with you. Some of them, when we start with them, they don't know EEC, especially for the small firm. But we have the MOU with Hong Kong DC anyway. So that has been to make something more better, I would say. On the employment in this is on the employment of the automobile industry. There are 2 things we did. One is that during the COVID times, we asked for, that is a fact. I would say like this. The fact is that they have 100% of the labor force. When the COVID come in, they divide in 3 parts. The first part is the best. It's the best labor. They keep it. The second one, another 30, they send to us to do the training for the EV in the future. And another 30%, they have to go home. So that's the reality. Anyway, it is not linked to the automation that we did. There will be the new study coming up from the Bank of Thailand. The team at the Bank of Thailand do the study. Whether the automation will reduce the number significantly in the industry or not, the studies say it's insignificant. Why? But particularly for Thailand, we don't have the labor much anyway, right? When you have the labor, they keep it. They try to retrain them. It's a special case for Thailand. We don't have the labor, and that's our full employment for long time. So the impact of the automation, especially to Thailand, is insignificant. That study will come up next month or so. U-Tapo, Navy is a good guy, man. You can say it, you cannot say that. But the point is that when we do the U-Tapo Airport, the airport city, we EEC is a partner with the private sector, not the Navy, because Navy is Navy. Navy has the job obligation to defend the country. They don't know how to do the detailed project. But this is the first time, Ajahn. We try to get U-Tapo, as you know, 30 years ago, many times around, the past 30 years. This is the first time that we can get it. And then, as you said, if U-Tapo is not work, EC is not work. I agree with you. Yeah. The energy, then we can discuss. So that's a lot of things to do. No. But we have some project, experiment project on ECD, the first ECD one. We talked to the EGAT to produce clean energy, send directly to this area. And then we talked to one private company to do the solar energy and send to the Sony Picture. Sony Picture agreed to come here because of the clean energy. They said they in the stock market there, so they have some brownie point. And that will be the one-to-one correspondence for the energy part. So that's what all I can say more to you. But anyway, the Aerotropolis is really important. Nah. If we can get the airport up and running, so that will be the new area development that can be last longer than 10 years. No, please, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanit. Jay, you want to have some point before we go to Q&A? And you mentioned that you still have like the second half of what you prepared.
Yeah, I think that it was about the Aeropolis.
Oh, okay.
But I'm afraid we might get a little tense, but no.
Oh no, it's fine.
I think on the Aeropolis or the MRO, right? That in 2017 there was great hopes that Airbus would come in and invest
Yeah.
There were talks for 5 years, and it didn't happen. I don't want to say it's the government's fault. Airbus probably had their own issues that you guys felt with them.
The one who fixed the Airbus project is him.
Okay.
He's the one who do it.
I don't have the exact details of the issue, but I think that just sharing some experience from other markets that, and you probably know as well, if you're wanting to develop a new industry, you need to have a few core anchor tenants, and Airbus would be that, and it will help create the supply chain, the smaller suppliers.
Should be.
And once you can start building that, we can have that ecosystem in place.
Yes.
So, I'd be keen to hear, what were some of those challenges so that maybe we can fix them. There's challenges with, you mentioned the Navy, but also working with Thai Airways as needing to be a partner. And the situation that Thai Airways in is a bit challenging currently.
Very big one.
Yeah, I'm just being polite. And so if there's a need to partner with Thai Airways or a requirement, it's going to be tough for
Very
private
tough.
companies to
Very tough.
get that through management.
Very tough.
And then if we have to work with the Navy, it becomes even more difficult and complicated. But I'm with you. I'm with the vision on this, and I hope we can work together and try to execute it.
Please. I agree with you. And thanks for reminding me about the aviation business. When Tan Ambassador Sihasak fixed the deal with Airbus, everything already done on the table. But when the COVID come, they come back to us and they said they don't have any money because they cannot sail the plane at all. And the last source, another company, flopped anyway. After that, a year later on, the Thai Airways come to confess to us that they gone bankrupt, right? Not only gone bankrupt, they said that they don't want the area at U-Tapo anymore. They want to focus at the Suvarnabhumi as a base. Yeah. So that, sorry for EEC, that's what the unfortunate. So we are going, I was the executive chairman of the Thai Airways for 10 years. Yeah. We see the situation, Jay. By the end of this year, we see some recovery. Yeah. By the end of next year, they're going to come back at around 80%. Yeah. And then this project we have to postpone until the mid of next year. If you want to make the deal with us, come. That has a timing to say. Now the traveling in Europe and in United States coming back, but not in Asia so far. You have the zero COVID policy in China, they not travel. You have a very strict policy of COVID in Japan. I cannot travel there, although I want to. But you guys good now. You go to where? To Singapore. To Singapore, to some other country. It start to coming back, but it takes time. I think aviation business will not coming back until the mid of next year. Believe me. Thank you. I think that is the time we start talking about aviation business in U-Tapo.
Thank you to all three of you. I just would like to open the floor to Q&A because we have about 30 minutes left in our time. So please, there's a mic right there. Line up. Identify yourself and just say which panelists you want to address, please.
Peter Jansen, Business Times. Kun Kanet, I was interested. Hi, yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation, yeah, and for coming to the FCCT. I was interested. You mentioned very briefly BYD. I think this Chinese EV company, yeah. And this is news to me that they've actually decided to invest in some production down there. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what BYD is actually committed to. And sorry, a follow-up question. It's China related anyway, yeah?
Yes,
You're very proud of the 5G coverage in the EEC, as you should be. To what extent is that coverage being provided by Huawei, you know, the notorious blacklisted company in the U.S., and are you a little bit afraid of over-dependency on Huawei? Maybe I can address that to Jay too. Is that going to be a deterrence to U.S. investment in the EEC, the fact that you've got this, I don't know if they're still blacklisted or not, but I mean, it's a little bit spooky, yep.
Okay.
Tough question, Dr. Kanit.
That's answer the second one first. Actually, the 5G system in Banchang project is from Cisco and Malvinia. It's not the Japanese system. But Huawei has come to work with us for many years already. Most of the 5G's parts and component that has been to see in around. I think they said around 50% is from Huawei. That's what happened. But anyway, EC is a neutral zone. We talk to the ex-ambassador of the United States. What's your new technology, and they bring them in. Now, do you remember one name that's gonna come up? We call it EV Lomo. EV Lomo is a new company. It's gonna be the first unicorn in EEC. This company is from United States, and it has the registered in NASDAQ. What they're doing, they do the power station and the power saving kind of equipment. They has been dealt toughly with many organizations in Thailand, including EEC, including Central Group, including the 7-Eleven, everything else. So that they has a spot to do that charging station more than anyone can thought. And lastly, they talk to the Toyota. When they announce a plan, you will see a big change for this product. And it's United States company, don't worry about it. Okay, the BYD. The BYD has been trimming around Thailand for some time. They has a factory in Indonesia. They has a factory in Vietnam before. But because of the policies of the parts and components, the thickness of the part and component in Thailand, BVD want to come. It has been discussed with us for the last. BVD has 15% market shares of the EV globally. They come to talk to us at first. They commit to us as to build the EV car here. But what we talk to them is that we don't want just only the car or the assembly parts we can provide in Thailand or export. BYD has committed to do the EV at the first start the company. But what the technology is that they very specialized is the battery system. They call the blade. Normally you put the battery this way, right? But they come up this way. It's called the blade. And this blade technology is used by the Tesla car as well. It's technology of BYD. So when we ask them, so they're gonna come with the blade technologies as well. We are talking to them about how to build ecologies of the EV. As I said, the first one, the Chinese group that coming in, the first one is the MG, is the Shanghai Automobile. The second one is the Great Wall Motor. Another thing. The third one is BYD. This is the major player in China. For Japan, they already turned themselves in EC to do the EV almost every brand. And Mercedes-Benz and BMW are doing the same thing. We just went back from Germany and talked to BMW. They want to do the X3 X3 full EV first. That's the first car. Anyway, that's why I said the only two left, the Tesla itself and the Volkswagen. But by this kind of policy, by this kind of direction, and enough of the battery business here, so this is all right. We can keep the momentum of being the automobile hub for ASEAN for a while.
Thank you, Dr. Kanit. Jay, you want to address the leverage issue?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, I think on the Huawei thing that it depends on the company, what their business is, what the security requirements are, and the cost benefit. So I think some companies it won't be as much of an issue, but I think certainly they would probably prefer to use or have different equipment provider providing the 5G. One thing that I just wanted to bring up, Toronto is not Thailand, but I have some experience about there was a project between Toronto, I think, and Google to build a smart city, and Google was going to invest a substantial amount of money to build the smart city, and I think there was some approvals from the city government, and then eventually it all fell apart, and it turned out that the people there just didn't want Google and the government building their smart city because they were concerned, I think, probably about their privacy, who's monitoring them, who are the providers of the 5G. So there's a balance. I guess to me it was a bit of a cautionary tale to let's not assume what the market wants. Let's let the market speak. As the government, let's provide the frameworks, investment maybe where needed, but we have to be careful to think that we can pick who's going to be the winning industry or whatnot, because sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not. And I was surprised because at first I thought, oh, it sounds like a great idea. Google's going to provide all the investment. We're going to have a smart city. Everything's going to be great. But it turned out that actually the people were not keen on that idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very good point. Actually, we have been traveled to see smart city, what so-called smart city, many places in the world, especially in Asia. They mistakenly do the smart city because they said the smart city must be the digital city. It's not livable. It's not livable. So to speak, I have been seen many one, including the new one come up in Busan or whatever. It's the electronics city you don't want to live in, believe me. Yeah. But when we do the things, we are not yet get to the point. First of all, how to make the city lively for the people to live. And our city is, as I said, is focused on the young generation for the startup, for the people. Because as I said, right now the condominium of 33 square meters in Pattaya, in Rayong, is very expensive. So if you go there, you cannot buy it. No. So that how can we get the city that people can live together harmoniously? As I said, the concept that we derive is not ready, so that we do not hire the company to do the design, because our concept is not so damn ready to say what is the spirit of the city that we have to discuss. No, it's just not the city have the construction, those and this not work, believe me. Anyway, this is a good start because when we do this one, the city will be so different from other smart city, as I said. That's going to help us to design that, to think about this kind of concept. So when we're talking about the guy who come, the Aerotopolis, the Jack Casada will come. Jack Casada is the godfather of Aerotopolis. He will come tomorrow and talk to us. But that's a part of the whole concept. The Aerotopolis is right because we have the airport. So there will be the company, there will be the people to come, the business to come. But how to make it livable? It's another matter.
another
We,
thing.
we don't crack the nut yet. I'm sorry to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanit. Please.
Hi, my name is Pon Sivanasinghe. I'm an assistant professor and an academic who researches infrastructure. Can you hear me with the mask?
Muffled.
Oh, okay. My name is Pon Sivanasinghe. I'm an academic. I research infrastructure, and I'm assistant professor in the U.S. Just two questions. I'm hearing different visions of the EEC. One is as a logistics hub, one as the original GMS view of a integrated facet of a global production network, and the third, you said, 5G will be Thailand. So the third would be, I guess, a digital center, digital data center. So I think there's three different visions. It's not that they can't all coincide, but I do think that there are different views about what the EEC is actually going to be as an industrial policy. And so I think we've heard things about Google, with things about EVs and BYD. These are very different types of sectors. They're very different kinds of industrial policy. So the question I have more so is, if we think about Microsoft and Google taking the 5G and the data center thing more seriously, data centers are not located at all in any ASEAN cities, ASEAN countries, right? Because if Google, Microsoft invest in a data center, they're all located in China because of the market size. So the business case, they don't see one. They would see one if there was a user experience reason, right? So I'm looking at the brochure, and the energy price is around 8 cents, at least per kilowatt, right? And at least for data centers, if you're thinking about a $1 or $2 billion outlay for a data center, it's spot price sensitive. So I'm just wondering if you could elaborate, if any of you could elaborate a little bit further, both on how we get to 8 cents and what that looks like once you factor in some of these ambitious plans around green energy.
Anyone can.
Anyone can.
Okay,
Okay.
Danrut, please take
Okay,
the
so
first bullet.
yeah, I think this is my take on the EEC, and then we'll let Dr. Kanit, who's in charge of the EEC, to tell you the direction. What I see is that there are a number of things within the EEC that they want to focus on. And if I'm not mistaken, it's about like 5 or 7 key industries. When I look at it, because I'm professionally deformed by logistics, I just look at it from a logistics perspective and a supply chain perspective. And for me, there's a lot of potential with U-Tapo, the connectivity with the deep sea port. But the biggest challenge in Thailand in terms of infrastructure has always been hinterland connectivity. So we can have like great facilities, like U-Tapo Airport itself is very good. But then when we think in terms of hinterland connectivity, then that's a bit more challenging. Or even like at the port, because currently Laem Chabang port, if you look at behind the port, it's totally clogged up. So it is a problem in a sense that you may be able to have a great port, but then it's completely clogged.
jammed.
Yeah, completely jammed because the roads behind are not large enough to cater. And then you have the population that's living there that are saying, hey, the port is polluting my life. We don't want the port anymore. It's a bit like in Rayong province, Maptaput, which is a industrial petrochemical industrial complex, where initially there was not a lot of people living there, but when the factories were established, then people started working, and now they're all saying, oh, there's a lot of pollution. So this is what I feel that it's a challenge, because you have so many things that you need to take into account, and you're right in the sense that it seems like the EC wants to do many things. From me, when I look at logistics and supply chain management, I look at it from the perspective of a support. If you're able to enable connectivity, then that is a good thing, but of course, we need to look at it from a sustainable perspective.
Good.
Go ahead. I'll follow up at the end.
Okay,
Just gonna try
that's a good question so far. When we're dealing with the EEC, for the next phase. This is the key problem. We have the 10 target industry around 5 years ago. Because when we look at the oil industry, we ask the investor. At that time, we did a big survey by the foreign team. Ask the investor whether what kind of industry we can add on, or on the already have industry. They come up with the first 5, right? So the first 5 is quite okay. They have agriculture, they have those and this. When we ask for the, what would be the new industry that can come here? The first one they said 5 years ago is robotic automation. 5 years ago, when we were talking about robotic automation, nobody believed it at all. We have the medical, we have those. But one thing happened, believe me, so far, is the merging of technology. So that our 10 target industry now merged into just only 4. Only four targets. The first one is automation, as I said, because we have the 5 Cs, we can do automation. And the merging of the technology actually is come from the digitization. All of them. Okay, when you're talking about the medical care today, you're talking about the big data. The new book is coming in. It said if you have the data, because of digitization, you can crack the gene code, right? It's 1 terabyte for everyone. 1 terabyte capacity to have 1 genes of the 1 people. Because of the digitization, we can do that now. So it's a data-led kind of thing, right? So when you're talking about the precision medicine, it's digitization, right? When you're talking about the data business, it's digitization. So that it has been merging of the technology, most of them, dealing the platform of digitization and some innovation. That technology has been merged so far. And when you're talking about the infrastructure on that and this, I think that is on the pollutions as well. I think the first thing when we draw the policy 4 years ago is that we have the zero environmental impact for the industrial sector in EEC. So that's why the sector in EEC, the 10 target industry, there's no pollution. We not add on any pollution on them, period. No? And I myself do not believe the trade-off between development and the environment. We can do better than that, and that's what we try to do. No? Other thing else is fine. I do agree that we lacking out the big guy, Google and Microsoft. Actually, before COVID, we already talked to them and try to and make a trip by our Minister of DE and Prime Minister to go to visit many of them in the eastern courts of the United States. But the COVID come. We already talked to Cisco, and Cisco has been committed. We committed some fund with Cisco. Cisco is going to work with us. But other thing else, we will do more. That's what I agree with you. We lack enough. For the Chinese company on that technology, they have been work with us for some time, like Huawei. On the Tencent and on the Alibaba, we have the special zone from Alibaba some times ago. Our project with Alibaba is so damn difficult. We negotiate with them for almost a year. They said in the first round that come to send the product, the e-commerce to us. We said the Thai market is so damn small. You can have 10 million, right? But if you return your way of thinking to get the Thai product to the Chinese market, that's what you make money. So that when you're talking, even durian in what we said is on the Alibaba platform, and Alibaba would take, I think, around 30% of durian to China now. That's a negotiation we made.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything to add, Jay? Or?
Yeah, just I think on the data center thing, that there are some data centers in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, in Thailand. So it's not. Pardon? Right, you're saying that they're not in Singapore? They're not
Large scale.
hyperscalers?
So it's a matter of scale.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought that in Singapore they had the scale, but it's okay. But I think the point is that I don't think necessarily that data centers is what we want, because they're such energy intense consumers, and we have to, unless we have and to perhaps your point, Ruth, and we have a huge focus on renewable energies, and we can produce energy renewably quite cheaply, then we can have data centers, and it's not such a big deal. I mean, I know in Singapore they had put a moratorium on new data centers because of the energy consumption, and now they're trying to get this cable from Australia all the way to Singapore with the renewable energy. So it seems like there's demand for renewables. So, perhaps, we could tap into that here.
8 cents.
Yeah,
อะไรนะคะไฟฟ้า so yeah
the only thing that struck me about the price was I just spent the last few days in Laos, and I was told, this is just sort of random, it may not be helpful, but they were talking about data centers in Laos, and they were talking about 2 of them, and that they were paying 7 cents per hour. And then I think this was just the interesting part of the story is that the government went to these data centers to sort of inspect them and see what was going on, because they're supposed to be data centers. But they found out that actually they were mining Bitcoin. So they were Bitcoin miners.
All right, we don't have limited time. I think there's 3 more questions, so we have time for that.
But Jay is right now. Data center is very energy consumption, and they have some firm in Singapore talk to us, and we said it is coming with the data center. We don't accept you. Your incentive will be very low. But if you're coming with a platform, so another matter.
We can discuss this at drinks after. Please, Evgeny.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Evgeny Belenky with the Novosti news agency, Russia. I would like to ask Kunkanit about the fate of all those well-discussed projects of Russian involvement in the Eastern Corridor. Like, for instance, the helicopter repair facility that was supposed to be servicing all Russian-made helicopters in Southeast Asia, probably including the Burmese helicopters as well. And about a possibility of subcontracting Russian companies for enhancing the port facilities and all that. Like, we all remember probably, or somebody maybe doesn't, but there was a Russian-Ukrainian company that was a subcontractor for Italian Thai in dredging, like increasing the depth at both Laem Chabang and Maptaput at the beginning, at the onset of the construction. Yes, there was.
Can you?
There was a whole bunch of vessels from Odessa.
He is the ex-permanent secretary of Ministry
Well,
of Foreign
we
Affairs.
have like last night, we have a special guest, so Ambassador CSI, you can come here to the podium.
มาพี่ช่วยผมหน่อยผมไม่ค่อยรู้
Russian
เรื่อง
involvement.
So what's going to happen with with probable political entanglements, to say so? What may happen to these Russian projects?
I think we're open to investment from every country. What we need, of course, is the right kind of technology and expertise. Regarding your question about the Russian-Ukraine company that is part of the working with Itotai, I think that doesn't relate to the EEC itself. I think this is a a partnership with.
Sir, it was 25 years ago. There was
That's
no
right.
EEC at all.
But we are from our embassy in Moscow. I think that there are interests in the EEC, especially a few universities have expressed interest in working with Thai institutions in the EEC in training of people, and that we welcome very much. So I don't think there is anything related to the situation in Ukraine that would bias our consideration, because we welcome technology at the moment, and this is so I think that if it's the right technology and the right partner, we would welcome them.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Ambassador.
I don't see much of the Russian activity in EEC so far. Sorry to say. What we have most is the tourists from Russia to Pattaya. That's what we see. But the deep technology, we don't have it. Nobody come to talk to us, at least not to talk to me on this part. Sorry, that's what I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please, Gwen.
Gwen Robinson, Nikkei Asia. Thanks very much for fascinating, is that right? Fascinating insights. I just wanted to come back to the digital aspect, and particularly your reference to, building infrastructure, particularly the 5G question, and the fact that Huawei, I gather Huawei already has some part, and Cisco another part, with maybe Ericsson right in there as well. So at some point, that might be all very well for EEC, but Thailand has a big decision to face on the overall standards it'll adopt. So how do you see that, and where does that fit if EEC is going to, say, have a combination?
I think. Thank you for the questions. When we do the I should say the last ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Thailand, we have been very close together, and we raised this issue with him. And he knows some company. He knows about those and this, and they bring the company in. But as I said, for a United States company, we have to bring them in. They are not come to invest in Thailand unless we bring them in. So that the questions I have for that kind, right? But for the Chinese company, they differently work. They came in a big way. We have to push them out, and that's a different kind. You see, that's a different. We try to be neutral in that sense, but this is different schemes we have been learned so far. That is why we invited, if they have some company to come to, U.S. company or Japan company or whatsoever to come to Thailand, we also gonna help them to do. That is, actually, as I told you, when we do the Ban Chang, which is the Mataput area, we have the United States kind of to have the footprint there. Nah? No, good or bad, nah? Technology-wise, they have something lag behind, but that's okay. But anyway, that the essence is that we and Tan Tut Siasak and other people have to talk to them and bring them in and give them a best support, I should say, to have a footprint here. Sorry.
Lekha?
Lekha Shankar, right, for the Asian Age India. This is more a comment because I was part of the media team that went to visit the EEC, the Innovation Center at Rayong, and it kind of blew our mind. I found everything in sync. They showed us what they wanted to see, and we were totally impressed. The private companies, we had PTT and SCG Chemicals, Metapol Group working in sync with the government. The farms we went to, they all were working with universities, Mangkut Institution, So the young people were all involved. And finally, when we went to Wangchan Valley, the main headquarters, it was amazing because the BCG model was followed, the circular economy, the biorefinery. I never heard so many bio words in my life like that. The biomass, biodiversity, biorefinery. And you know, the space was amazing. The reforestation outside had all been done really impressively. It was, it really was impressive that so much has been produced and ready. I understand a part of it is going to be opened at the time of the APEC, but the ultimate goal is 2030. But it seems to be going very well and very impressively. I had a small question about whether there were any Indian investments. I was told that they were connecting with India for the digitization and all that.
Yeah.
But I was just curious to know whether there was any part of any section in India that was going to be involved with this EEC.
Thank you, Laem.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that to your Madam Ambassador of India, she is very good. She is one of the best I ever discussed with. She is very generous and she's very understandable. So that what they discuss is the technologies. The technology is transferable. Automobile cannot work. I don't know why. No. But technology is okay. That's what the platform we have with her. Nakap. And on the training side, it's all right. I think we can share that kind. We are sort of what should I say? Confess to you that we don't know how to run the innovation park. Then we have to sign the MOU with I believe it's the one who run is from Belgium. They run this kind of innovation park before. So we signed the MOU and we hire them to run our ECI. So that's why they ask a lot more things to do. Actually, we're not that smart so far, but that's okay. Thank you very much. Yes.
On that note, I guess there's no more question. Is there any more question? Oh, okay. One last question then.
Sorry, one last question. My name is Andrew Sokol. I'm a PhD researcher from MIT.
Can you speak in the mic, please?
Studying smart cities. So I'm a PhD researcher studying smart cities. I guess along some of the questions on data and ownership of data infrastructure, Jay mentioned the Google project, and then the concerns about different companies owning infrastructure. I was wondering if there's any effort to build public Thai ownership of the infrastructure, such as having local companies provide that, or if there's any sort of localization plan. You've talked a lot about inviting foreign companies in different countries' companies, but is there any sort of long-term plan for developing that, locally or domestic companies?
Yes, I think this is the new project so far. We, the government, try to secure the land. That's our job. And then and design the concept of the city, the soul of the country, right? But it's gonna be the PPP kind of project in many areas, including the headquarters, those and this to come, infrastructures, those and this. So there are many company. The first study we did for the smart city we did with the Japanese firm, with the Japanese company, to their organization. I think it's Jetro as yes, JICA and Jetro, yes, and that's really come up with the smart city. But when we discussed deeply with them, we found the same thing as Jay said. It's too smart for us, too technical, too electronic. You have the center, which is good somehow, but we need some other alternative to do. Let us. But the process after we get the concept is the open bidding kind of PPP. We want the new technology from those of this, but we have to come up with the TOR. Now the TOR is not that fixed what we really need. So that to be in the near future.
No, but maybe just to add, when we think about the Thai firms that can invest in such type of endeavor, it's the usual suspects. SCG, PTT, Banpu. You know, these are the big guys that are in fact very actively involved both on a CSR perspective in that area, but also investing quite a lot. I know that PTT has done like joint venture agreements to go into the EV. EGAT has also been involved even more because for them it's a bit more challenging. SCG has also expanded aggressively, and this is the direction that they're taking. They feel that they're quite comfortable with it. And yeah, you have the other guy I completely forgot about them, which is CP.
The train.
Yeah, they're too small, so I forgot about them.
All right. Well, on that note, I would like to thank all three panelists. Also, special thank to Dr. Kanit for coming today and really tell us and very vibrant discussion about this EEC vision of Thailand. And hopefully by 2027 we'll host another panel once the cities are built and everything is realized. On a practical front, I want to some housekeeping notice. Tomorrow night we have an event, a music night, and do come. We have come and have drinks and listen to music. And then next Thursday, I believe, yes, next Thursday, August 25th, we have an event on what next for Myanmar's Rohingya. So for those of you who are interested, please join. And again, I would like to thank all three of our panelists and have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
นัดมันไว้เข้าใจว่า2 โมงเย็นคราวที่แล้วมันพาเพื่อนมันพาไอ้โจหลุย